Hello, this is Troy Kilpatrick. I'm the Executive Director for the Journey Museum and Learning Center, and I would like to thank you again for coming to journeymuseum.org and checking out our Turtle Stories. Today's presentation, put together by Mark Slocum, the Executive Director for the Minnilusa Historical Association. We're kind of titling this one as From the Minnilusa Vault because it's pieces and parts, in a way, of lots of different history recording efforts that Minnilusa Historical Association has made, and so we thought that all of the parts would kind of make a cool lump sum for you. So you're going to see a variety of shorter range videos, but all from previous programs that we may have hosted here, and all curated by the Minnilusa Historical Association. I would be failing to give proper acknowledgement here to the folks at Minnilusa Historical Association, their original partners for the Journey Museum, helping form the Museum Alliance of Rapid City. And I always need to give a huge shout out for the beginning of their support, their continuing of support, and I know in the future when we return to being reopened to all of you in the public, the membership for the Minnilusa Historical Association will be there to cheer us on. So now, curated by Mark Slocum and presented this week for your Turtle Stories, here it is from the Minnilusa Vault. Stories of the Past, Turtle Stories. Here we go.
Grace French lived her life in pursuit of art in a little white house at 31 Quincy Street in Rapid City. The unique set of talents and philosophies she brought west with her profoundly influenced and enriched the cultural life of her town during the nearly 6 decades she lived here. Her legacy lives today in working artists, art teachers, painters of elegant china, and perhaps most importantly, in her sketches, paintings, and notebooks that give us a priceless view of Rapid City during its early history. Grace French and her widowed mother Sarah moved to Rapid City in September of 1885, joining 2 brothers and a sister. The brothers soon moved on, and Sarah passed away in 1891. Grace and her sister Abby never married. They supported themselves and maintained their modest household as single women, very unusual for their time. Even more unusual, these women supported themselves with their art. Grace earned her living as the primary teacher of art for the growing frontier community and as a working artist, selling sketches and small paintings, painted china, and Christmas cards. She made her art into a sustainable business in a place that prior to her arrival didn't know much about art. She kept detailed ledgers of her business transactions and lessons, as well as notebooks full of sketches and ideas, and notes from the training she continued throughout her life, traveling to Chicago and Denver to attend art lectures and studio classes by top artists of the day. Thomas French had wanted both his daughters to have formal art training. After Grace and Abby graduated from high school, both girls sought advanced training at the Lowell School of Practical Design in Boston. Grace went on to the School of Drawing and Painting at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston.
To me, it's very evident that Grace French was classically trained because of the foundation sketches that she does in preparation for the paintings, the way she composes the works very carefully, her execution of them, the fact that she tries to get everything that she can from each subject by going back and dealing with it again with maybe a slightly different palette or slightly different composition, different time of day, and so on.
The lively and progressive Boston art scene of the 1880s gave Miss Grace French 3 important tools for the pursuit of art as a woman in the West. First, her notebooks and exercises document that she mastered rigorous training, not only in technical drawing, but also in fine arts, and she received a cutting-edge academic education. Second, Boston was home to a strong community of accomplished female artists who practiced their art without regard to whether it was considered right and proper for a woman. Grace came away with the belief that all people could learn and create serious art, and there were no limits to her own pursuit. Third, she was influenced by the most progressive educational theory at the time, that all children could and should have training in the arts. fueling her lifelong determination to teach serious art to young people, and undoubtedly shaping the way she later guided future teachers in South Dakota normal school institutes in the 1890s. Grace and Abby began educating artistic tastes in Rapid City homes as soon as they arrived, and while their clients and students included many prominent families, they turned no one away.
I would go to the French sisters' home, which was only 3 blocks from where I lived, and do errands and do household chores, and in return they would give me art lessons. I think I had an hour a week and then little tips in between.
You know, anything in the early days of Rapid City that reflected the fine arts and the performing arts and the visual arts was a real plus for the people that lived here. Because, of course, what they were trying to do is bring culture to the frontier town, to the hay camp, and that included a wide variety of different kinds of art forms. And so Rapid City was extremely lucky to have someone that was passionate about an art form and also was passionate about passing on what she knew about art and about painting specifically to the young people of the community.
Many of her students left Rapid City with portfolios that met the requirements of the Chicago Art Institute or the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Some students, like Anna J. Anderson, took years of lessons, becoming accomplished painters and mentors for the Rapid City art community themselves.
Grace French's influence set the tone for the arts as we know them.
One of Grace and Abby's most profitable and popular pursuits was China painting. With talk of Rapid City as the next Denver, the ladies of Rapid City's West Boulevard wanted their homes to reflect the arts and crafts movement, so they not only sought hand-painted porcelain, but also wanted to create some themselves. Grace was superbly prepared to teach this decorative art throughout its era of popularity. Always aspiring to the best materials as well as top-notch training, Grace purchased powdered paints from master artists when she studied with them in Chicago. Perhaps her most important legacy lies in her many drawings, sketches, and paintings showing Rapid City and the Black Hills as they were during our early history.
For the most part, what you see on canvas is what was there 100 years ago. And that, to me, is probably the more interesting part of what she does, because I can see what was there and what she saw in her eyes and compare what it is today. Life was much slower then. You can see in her artwork that life was slow. You had time to take in the scenery and relax.
So we have a color panorama of what the Black Hills was like in early date. And some of her landscapes are just striking, yet today. So it's nice that she chose the Black Hills to come to. It is a frontier town. Grace French's favorite settings was the Hangman's Hill there, where 3 horse thieves were hung. So it was kind of a wild, unsettled period. Well, there was a water system, and she captured that image too. That's what makes it so nice. You don't find photos of it, but you find her drawings of it. She'd do the sketches of the Indians camping, for instance, and she'd footnote it, with regard to what she was saying, the date, the day. Her 2 sketchbooks are really a treasure with regard to Black Hills history.
In her sketchbooks, we see buildings long gone, like the M.E. Church in Hill City or Pennington County's first courthouse. From her vantage point on Quincy Street, she sketched Reservoir Hill, the Gap looking west, and the pasture where somebody kept a milk cow within sight of downtown. She and Abby drove their horse and buggy to other locations in and out of town. Other favorite scenes include Cleghorn Canyon and Dark Canyon, and the Rapid City skyline. According to her battered ledger, she sold dozens of watercolor and oil paintings of Canyon Lake and Rapid Creek. Into her 80s, Grace continued to paint, to teach, and even to exhibit occasionally. The last notation for a lesson was 1940. She died in 1942. Awareness of a large part of the French sisters' remarkable legacy might have been lost had it not been for a judge charged with the care of some of Grace's paintings.
I was totally unaware of the Grace French paintings, never had heard of her. And all of a sudden, in I think it was early summer of 1975, here in the Northwest warehouse truck pulled up and brought all these crates in, and they took them down into the basement, and we started opening them, and were just totally surprised and taken back by what was inside those crates.
That was in the mid-1970s. About the same time, local historian and collector David Strain bought some sketches, paintings, and a box of sketchbooks, paints, and brushes. Strain featured some of the sketches and paintings in a 4-color section in his 1989 book, Hay Camp. In 2005, Dave and Betty Strain gave that collection to the Journey Museum. Patrick Roseland found, purchased, and donated an additional collection of sketches and watercolors.
I think Grace is an example of the previous generation passing on to us what she was concerned about and what she loved, and our contemporary artists do the very same thing. They preserve for future generations what they care about and what they love.
Through this expanded Journey Museum exhibit, new generations can learn about Grace French. But important work remains, the preservation of these irreplaceable paintings.
If the Grace French paintings are not preserved, we don't just lose a vital part of our art history, we also lose the lens through which we see Rapid City in its formative years.
Kind friends, won't you listen to my sorrowful tale? I'm an object of pity and looking quite stale. I gave up my job selling rice patent pills to prospect for gold in the dreary Black Hills. The roundhouse in Cheyenne, it's filled every night with loafers and bummers of most every flight. On their backs there's the clothes, in their pockets no bills. Each day they keep starting for the dreary Black Hills. So don't go away, stay at home if you can. Stay away from that city, they call it Cheyenne, where the blue waters roll and the Comanche bills, they will lift up your hair in the dreary Black Hills. I got to Cheyenne, no gold could I find. I thought of the learned trout left far behind. Through hail, rain, and snow, frozen plumb to the gills, they call me the orphan of the dreary Black Hills. Kind friend, to conclude, my advice I'll unfold. Don't go to the Black Hills hunting for gold. Railroad speculators, their pockets you'll fill by taking a trip to those dreary Black Hills. So don't go away, stay at home if you can. Stay away from that city, they call it Cheyenne. For all Sitting Bull or Comanche Bill, they will take off your scalp in the dreary Black Hills. They will take off your scalp in the dreary Black Hills. it was good to live. Went all the west without no fence nor fuss. Belonged in partnership with God, the government, and us. The skyline bounds from east to west, with room to go and come. I like my fellow man best, and he was scattered some. When my old soul change and rest beyond the last divide, just plant me on some strip of west, that's sunny, lone and wide. Let cattle rub my headstone around, let cows swell their kill, let horses come and paw the ground, but don't you fence it. Let horses come and paw the ground, but don't you fence it in. Don't you fence it